Peter, what will change in social America once these protests finish?
Well, I think a lot of it depends on the kind of messaging that occurs between now and the end of those protests, what brings those protests to an end. The message that certain messages need to come both at the local level on how the police will perform in the future and so forth, but I think also really at the federal level there needs to be a set of guidelines. Really, there are no national guidelines for policing, and I think, we're not hearing anything from the White House on that, really, and that's what we need to see. I mean, yesterday at the White House, it really was all about optics and threats, and I think probably what really needs to be seen is what needs to be coming from the White House is some more positive messaging about what it will take to kind of bind and heal the nation's wounds over this. I mean, this is just clearly an unbelievable and unprecedented situation where you've got three crises going on at the same time: a health, economic, and social crisis.
But, Peter, is this how President Trump gets reelected? So is the reason why he's going quite hard on the protesters, even if it's wrong, because he thinks that this is a good election strategy because it solidifies his base?
Maybe, I mean, I think there's something to that, and there's a lot of speculation that this is a throwback to the 1968 presidential campaign and Nixon's use of law and order, and the president has invoked, in fact, that phrase. I think kind of more proximately, basically, Donald Trump has been ridiculed by the press, both at home and abroad, for being weak and ineffectual in the face of this social unrest, and I think he's concluded that he needs to show strength. He's not only being ridiculed from kind of the media on the left, he's getting it from Fox News as well, as he did from Tucker Carlson. And so I think what we saw in response to that was a series of essentially very highly charged photo ops, starting with the conference call to the country's governors, where he ridiculed them for being weak, all the way to the forceful clearing of peaceful protesters in Lafayette Park, right across the street from the White House, so he could have a photo op holding a Bible in front of St. John's Episcopal Church. And I think what the president has concluded is that he needs to show he's in command and encourage governors and mayors to think twice about not using greater force to establish order in the cities. Unfortunately, I think this is likely to only polarize the situation on the ground in the cities. The president's supporters may be reassured, and maybe that helps him come November, but I think, with those voters, but most Americans I don't think are going to be swayed by this. And I think many governors and mayors are just going to continue to try to find a way forward locally to dealing with what is effectively a national social problem. That's the mismatch here.
But Peter, what needs to change socially for the country to start healing?
Well, I think that it has to come from the very top. There needs to be a message that, simultaneously what you need to do is you need to reimpose social order. That's very clear. That needs to come not from federal, U.S. armed forces, but from the National Guard, supervised by governors. But at the same time, there needs to be a message from the White House about this is a very deep social wound in the United States that is simply hit, to mix metaphors here. I mean, this has been simmering and it is boiled over now, and the president needs to address it. It seems to be more or less a kind of afterthought in almost all of his speeches, and it really needs to be front and center.